What is shaking? It is draft day, and it's NBA day, basically. Draft, whole bunch of trades going on. The NBA offseason has turned into, well, what the Major League Baseball trade deadline used to be and what the NFL offseason is. It's like a whole different season of itself, and it just got started this past week, and then free agency will be in a few weeks. And to help us break it all down, draft and trades and what they mean and all that, senior basketball writer for The Athletic, Sam Amick, joins us. Sammy, how you doing?
Tommy T, great to see you, my friend. We were joking off air. I'm loving the backyard vibe we got going in this episode.
Yep.
Little light breeze. Hopefully that doesn't hit my mic, but I'm good. I just got off the finals trail, and I'm always got mixed reaction where it's a privilege to cover the finals. But as you've lived yourself, like my goodness, a 7 game finals on top of covering the
Yep.
West Finals. We get back and it's like 36 hours later, the even less than that, 24, the trades are popping and the off season has officially begun. So but I'm good to be home, and it should be a fun summer.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? And I learned this firsthand doing working for ESPN and NBC that one year, but mostly ESPN when I was doing Eastern Conference Finals and either calling the finals or doing the studio. It's like really cool to do it, but by the end of it, you're like, I'm done with this. Like it's just
Yeah.
2 months of playoffs. It's an entire season unto itself, and then it's just the travel and look, not complaining because again, we love what we do, but still, there's like another airport. I got to stay in another hotel. I don't need any more goddamn mints in my pillow. I just want to go home and sleep in my own bed. That's all I
Yeah,
want.
there's you made me think of a good buddy of mine who writes for Yahoo Sports, Vinny Goodwill. You probably know the name. He kept
Mm-hmm.
cracking me up because late in the finals, he kept asking players these questions about how describe the level of fatigue that you guys are dealing with. And the more he asked these questions, I finally was like, Vinny, you're not at this is you're literally like projecting. This is all about how tired you are, and you're basically
Yeah.
asking the players like, man, I don't even play the games and I'm exhausted. So how are you guys doing this? And like you hit it on the head. Like you love what you do. I was just chatting with my wife about this. Like the length of time that I was away this particular year, it rivals the length of time that I spent in the bubble 5 years ago. But the major distinction is, say what you will about the bubble, you were in one spot. You never moved. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're not airport hopping. You're not running around. So first world problems. It was a
Yeah.
fun stretch, but like we said at the jump too, like the around the league, the fireworks are already popping a little bit.
Before we get to that, the draft a little bit and the craziness of the offseason, let's go back to the final, which I thought was a really fun finals to watch. I know people are
For
saying
sure.
Oklahoma City and Indiana, like you don't have big markets, you don't have really superstars. I mean, Shea's the MVP, but he's kind of like in that almost that Tim Duncan mode where it's just let me just go out and do my business and do my stuff for the team and we're good. And Halliburton's a little more outspoken. Now, I wouldn't even say outspoken, maybe a little more flamboyant, I guess, on the court. But even Indiana is not star laden. But it was a
Right.
really fun series, competitive, fun basketball, just the way the two teams played. What was your overall takeaway from the series? Because I just thought if you're a basketball fan, then I would hope you really enjoyed that series.
No, I loved it and agree with everything you said. And I'll frame it a little bit through the business lens of the NBA. And the thing I think
Mhm.
that they should be excited about is that there's no better time to invest in, fan bases that are not mainstream, like the Thunder and the Pacers with the stars that
Yep.
they do have, and kind of, increase their profiles and put them in the spotlight. Then when you are, about to begin an 11-year, however many billion-dollar media rights contract it is that they got, like they have secured the bag. They have these new partnerships coming with NBC, Amazon, and ESPN. And to me, the timing was perfect to have a finals where you just really cannot worry too much about the ratings, but realize that guess what? All of a sudden, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Tyrese Halliburton in particular are far more household names than they were 3 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like Halliburton with what he did in his legendary playoff run and hitting so many game winners, and then the awful way that it finished.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could have a Q rating for Tyrese from a month ago compared to now, it spiked without question.
Yeah.
Same thing for Shea. So, those guys will be more mainstream going forward. And yeah, basketball wise, I thought it was a lot of fun because I kind of thought that it was going to be dominant on the OKC side. I predicted they'd win in
Yeah.
5 and was pleasantly surprised that we got a real series. Honestly, I mean, I picked the Pacers going into Game 7. I thought they were going to shock the world.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it was about as good as it gets when it comes to the basketball.
No, I thought it was really, really good. And I just love the story of how the two teams are built, specifically OKC with basically the trade of the century, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander trade for Paul
Yep.
George. Oh yeah, and like 5 number ones. It was like incredible
Right.
trade. And then you use those trades to get guys like Dort and Williams, and then you go out and make really smart moves during the offseason and get Caruso and Hartenstein. Here's the problem I have with not the Thunder, because I love the way they're constructed. I love the way they're built. The new CBA is not going to allow them to stay together, and I think that's a real shame. We're seeing it with the Celtics, which we'll get to in a minute, but I just hate this new CBA. It's almost like the owners who weren't smart enough to figure out how to build a or a sustaining team, a good sustaining team, wanted to have their shot at it. So they figured it's better to do a dice roll than try and use our smarts to get over on people. And I just hate the fact the Celtics had to disband. Oklahoma City's going to have to make tough decisions. What do you think about the new CBA? Because I hate the fact that it's going to be so hard to get a dynasty anymore, Sam. And Oklahoma City, the way they built that, they deserve to have that team be together for the next 7-8 years.
No, I do agree. I mean, they are as, CBA proof as any team in the league right now. But it's still, all that means is, when they end up paying Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and then, when SGA is up for another deal, like
Yep.
eventually that trio is very likely going to be broken up. And the part where they are somewhat CBA proof is that they have so many first rounders that, and Sam
Yeah.
Presti, their GM, has such a good track record of drafting talent that you would presume that he's going to be able to find the next guy on the rookie contract. But that still doesn't take away from your point at all, because if you want to equate it to kind of your and I, all the time we spent together with the Warriors, like if you get Steph and Clay and Draymond, you deserve to have Steph and Clay and
Yes.
Draymond,
Yep.
for a long time, and that's really exactly what the Thunder have. Um, I agree that it is disappointing. I also wonder if the owners, I mean, I don't know what they expected to happen. Did you think that these star players would start taking a haircut salary wise to make this thing work? Like, no, they're all going to go get their market value, and
Yep.
it's gonna force this domino effect on all these different elite teams where they get broken up. I mean, I can't believe what's happening. The Celtics thing is crazy. We're legitimately sitting here today trying to track, man, are they going to trade Jalen Brown? Are they going to trade Derek
Yep.
White? How much farther are they going to take this thing? It's basically a hard cap. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what it is. And they kind of wanted it for years. And on the one hand, the parody is fun, but on the back end of the parody, when there's all this kind of bleeding in terms of teams getting busted up, I'm not sure how much people are going to enjoy that.
Well, this league was built on dynasties. It was built on super teams. It was the Celtics. It was the Lakers. It was the Celtics again. It was the Bulls. It was the Lakers. It was the Spurs. It was the Heat. It was the Warriors. Like that to me is a fun league where you have a team. I mean, the Warriors took it to an extreme where you just like knew they were going to go to the finals. That's how good they were. But I
Right.
want that. I want that team that either you love or you love to hate. You want someone to fight up that hill to try to beat him in the conference finals or beat him in the like. That's to me, that's the league. The league isn't jumping around in 8 different champions in 8 different years. And I'm with you. Like to a point, it's fun, but I want that one team I look at and go, boy, that how do you beat that team? And then you go out and beat that team. And I think the new CBA is crushed it. I also think the fact that players, that you make an all NBA team, you're eligible to make $70 million a year, just kills everything. I mean, what can the Celtics do with Brown and Tatum? That's like $140 million they're ultimately going to put out for two players. How do you build a
Right.
team after you do that? Like, I don't know how they could have reconfigured that, Sam, but it shouldn't be like where two players are taking up 80% of your cap space. It just, I don't know. I think everybody kind of botched that one, and I don't know where you go from here. But hopefully it doesn't come to this, but I am gonna miss a league that's like gives me that one team that's like good for 5 years that you have to figure out a way to knock them off.
I mean, I do still think OKC is going to be that team.
You're probably
You know,
right.
I think they are, but that doesn't take away from your point. In a way, that's like, admittedly, the writer in me who likes telling good stories, I was very quietly, we don't root for teams, but I was sitting there like thinking, oh, this would be wild to write about the Pacers pulling it off in Game 7. But
Yep.
that would have made your point even worse. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
even this OKC team couldn't get the job done, then get ready for like a crapshoot every single year on who the
Yep.
champion is going to be. I think about Memphis too, Tommy. Like, they should not be disappointed that Jaren Jackson qualifies for the Supermax. You know what I mean? Like, and so he
Yeah.
did.
Exactly.
And it's just like, oh, well, congrats, big fella, but probably gonna grease the wheels for you to get sent out of town. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so yeah, I mean, you're right. It's a pretty imperfect system.
All right, let's get to some of the trades that took place. First one was Kevin Durant going to Houston, which I thought was an incredible trade for Houston. I know people were saying Phoenix should have got back more, but when you have a star player like Durant kind of driving the trade and only 1 year left in his contract and saying, if you send me here, I'm not signing an extension. I'm not going to do it. Well, then you're not
Right.
going to get the returns that you want. And ultimately, he wanted to go to Houston, and that would ended up being the deal. What'd you make of that trade? Because again, I thought Houston got a lot better, and unless those two guys get maybe rerouted or they convince Bradley to be able to, take a deal somewhere else, I don't know how much better that makes them. What'd you make of that trade?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it as far as the Houston side. It was funny for me to follow and write about because the Rockets had just for months and months and months been really candid and transparent about that, like, hey, with all due respect to Kevin Durant, like we are not going to be in the Kevin Durant business. And the reasons
Yeah,
were age and timeline, and also, that it didn't coincide very well with what they were doing right now. And then the belief in their core. But like you said, because of the way that Kevin did control the situation to an extent, established that Houston, San Antonio, and Miami were his three preferred destinations. The Suns tried to convince him to feel good about Minnesota because they liked the Timberwolves possible package. We're not able to get Kevin to want to do that, and without that blessing, teams like Minnesota, just you said it, they weren't going to put much on the table.
yeah,
So the Rockets, I think, just reached a point where it was like, listen, you know, they were always very defensive of Jalen Green, even after he struggled against the Warriors in the playoffs.
yeah,
Oh, he's only 23 and this and that, and it was like, well, yeah, but the way that his contract was set up and the way their timeline was set up, this was a make or break season for Jalen with the Rockets. He
yeah,
fell short. They obviously felt the desire to upgrade. They part ways with Jalen. Dylan is a guy that was, such a big part of what the Rockets did, but also still owed a pretty healthy amount of cash. And these are two contracts where, the Rockets get off big deals, get a guy in Kevin who, should be able to get them into that title contending status. I'm curious how you see it basketball wise. I don't think my colleague and buddy would mind me sharing this, but David Aldridge from our place during the finals, we were debating Durant on the Rockets, and Da had some of his. He was a little skeptical about, you know, Kevin and how much of the offense he's going to control and dominate when you got Alperen Şengün, who's going to want the ball in his hands. Amen Thompson, who's going to take another leap. So to me, those are good problems to figure out, and I agree with you that they got better.
Yeah, look, the great thing about Kevin Durant is he is system proof. You can put Kevin Durant anywhere, and Kevin Durant will figure out a way to work. I mean, he's so good and he's so dynamic that I would never worry about Kevin Durant fitting in. And I still think they have some holes. There's no doubt about it. But you just put maybe the best scorer the last 20 years, who's still pretty lethal, on your roster. Again, I still think they got a few, they're not super deep and they got some issues. But I mean, it puts them right in the mix with everybody else in the Western Conference. Before I forget, because I know I'm going to forget this, because I wrote down all the trades and stuff. But I wanted to ask you what you made of. I can't remember. Is having a little trouble with the connection, so we'll see if we can rehook up with Sam. There he is.
I
You
got
back?
your audio back. There we go.
What'd
Okay.
you make of Kroenke saying? What'd you make of Kroenke saying? We don't want that to happen, because then if it does, you think about trading 15. I'm like, why would those words ever escape your mouth? Like, there's no situation, Sam, where you should even consider trading 15. Like, and the fact that you volunteered, what could he have possibly been thinking? Like, you want people to feel sorry for you where the cap is, and I was floored.
Maybe he meant, we don't want to have to trade the 15th guy on the team. I'm sure that's what he
Yeah,
meant. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's generous.
I like Josh, and he's in his openness at press conferences. This is one where you just like shared too much. I was
He
watching
did.
ESPN's coverage of it today, and it was like, bro, like nobody asked, nobody brought Joker
Yeah.
up. Like, why would you do that? So, and it's also, unfortunately, it just adds into the Nuggets optics. They're kind of
Yeah.
notoriously on the cheaper side. And it's like, okay, like you're preemptively acting like if we have to trade Joker, it wasn't our fault. Like
Yeah.
that's not a real intelligent way of framing it. But he's not going anywhere. But that goes back to what you're talking about. The second apron, this hard
Yep.
cap basically has got everybody shook.
No doubt about it. All right, let's get to the Celtics, because they trade Drew Holiday. And look, Drew had been declining over the last couple years, and at the price tag and the contract, I could see that. And I like Simons. He's a really good player. He's not the defensive player that Drew is, but he's a shot maker. He can hit, close to 40% of his threes. And in their system, I think he'll be better defensively with them. And then Porzingis, I was like, oh, these guys are just like shedding salary now. They're just like, okay, Tatum's out. Let's go ahead and retool this thing and get ready for the following year. And although I don't think they're giving up this year, I still think they're going to make the playoffs. And who knows when Tatum comes back. But that's what I was talking about with the CBA, right? Celtics put together a really nice roster, won a championship. And it's like not even 2 years later. It's a year later. It's like, okay, we're going to start selling off parts. I mean, what'd you
Right.
make of what the Celtics are doing? I mean, is it as obvious as it looks to me? Like, oh, they're just shedding salary.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the number again on ESPN today. I think they had the total payroll in the last 24 hours, including luxury tax, went from like 540 million to 270. You know, um,
Wow.
like that's real money, and you have new ownership over there, and the Tatum injury certainly accelerated that timeline. I mean, if they had won another championship, then they would have hard choices to make and less excuses to go out and make these kinds of moves. But this is a perfect ecosystem for them to, again, to like cut ties with guys that their fans love and say, sorry, don't blame us. Blame the basketball gods with Tatum and blame the CBA when it comes to the rest of it. The hypocrisy obviously is that the owners wanted this and pushed for it, and they're getting it now. But um, I think, I mean, it seems clear that they are at least listening on the remaining guys and have a very high threshold in terms of something actually happening with Jalen and Derek. But even the fact that they're listening,
Yeah.
Jalen's a Finals MVP who
Yeah.
was had champagne all over him 2 Junes ago, and has been doing this thing with Tatum for a long time, and however many conference finals appearances. So, the Anthony Simon thing is, he's got a year left. He's a good player, and if he
Yeah.
sticks around, then you get some of that scoring back, and like you said, maybe they kind of split the difference here and they compete with a much lower payroll and a different cast. But today and the next few days are going to be pretty huge on that front.
No, it's wild to see, what's going on with the league now. So those are the trades that have been. There's a lesser one. You could touch on it just for a second. Poole, basically, it's Jordan Poole goes to New Orleans, and CJ McCollum goes to Washington. Interesting trade. I guess the interesting part was New Orleans gets rid of Ingram, gets rid of McCollum. I guess they've just given up on that iteration of the Pelicans. I don't know if they're going to be looking to get rid of Zion and just completely start over, or they're just hoping he can stay healthy and he'll be their guy and build around him. But is there anything there that piqued your interest with that trade?
Yeah, just a big question mark on what's next. I don't think Zion's going anywhere. There was some chatter yesterday I was trying to chase down about DeJounte Murray maybe, heading out for a
Mm-hmm.
bigger piece in return. And I won't share that just because it was kind of denied or kind of pushed down.
Yeah,
So, Joe Dumars is running the Pelicans front office these days. He's got Bryson Graham, the GM, who was there before him, and Joe got a pretty penny to go out there and clean up the Pelicans mess. So I think he's going to be active. Um, and we've seen Joe put together championship rosters before. This one is just tricky. It's in flux. The fan base is obviously not very big to begin with, and now
yeah.
has no reason to really be behind them. So just kind of seeing where they go next.
Any news on the Warriors? And then I look. I either want Kuminga to sign a long-term deal or get traded. Like I'm so tired of talking about Jonathan Kuminga and how many minutes is he going to play? Is Steve screwing him?
Right.
Is he ever going to learn how to play basketball? Is he being held back? Will they trade him? Won't they trade him? How good is he? I'm just like enough. It's like I just no more, please. What are the odds? I'll ask you this: what are the odds to start next year?
Pretty decent. Just because like this might have to bleed over into the trade deadline.
Okay.
Based on some of the cap logistics, but it might not. I mean, for one, I mean, you probably saw on social media today, Anthony Slater from
Yep.
our place. At least for now, I'm happy from a guy who's jumping over to ESPN. But Slater went and spent time with Kuminga in Cleveland, where he is currently training, and it was the same messaging that you're talking about, where Jonathan, pretty directly says, whether it's the Warriors or somebody else, like I think I can be an all-star and I want to see
He
if I
wants to
can
be a
do it.
star.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now you have the sign and trade possibilities with the Warriors are just incredibly challenging. It's not
Yeah.
simple enough to have a team that's willing to kind of carry that freight contract wise. The Warriors have got to get something back that they feel good about, or else they're going to keep shopping. So it's one of the, like between Jonathan and his camp and the Warriors, and then whichever suitor ends up getting him, finding that sweet spot is going to be pretty tough, I think.
I wonder if they worked on rebounding in Cleveland. Maybe grab a rebound or two. Here's a dynamic I find
I haven't read the
interesting is
story yet. I don't know if that's in there. I'll
I
check it
read
out.
the story.
Yeah.
They didn't work
Okay.
on rebounding. There were no rebounds to be had, I believe. But I find that this adds a different level of intrigue to the story. Is I think the basketball ops people have a different view of Jonathan Kuminga than ownership does in this situation, and I think that adds another level of like intrigue as to what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, no question. That gives me kind of a flashback to, when Bob Myers decided to bring his Warriors tenure to an end. I think it's pretty widely known at this point. One of the reasons, there were many, was he was exhausted, and he talks about how he couldn't put everything into the job anymore. But a big part of it too was the tricky dynamics. It's one thing when you are navigating what your owner thinks, and and listen, I think Kirk and Kent, Joe's sons who are really involved, are smart guys who are about as like anti nepo as you will find in the NBA.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's still another layer to navigate if you're now Mike Dunleavy. Is okay, how all these voices in the room, how does everybody feel holistically about the guy? And then, how do they feel about all the different trades that cross their desk?
Where are you on the Warriors right now, kind of heading forward? It's clear they've cast their lot with Steph, of course, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. Those are going to be the three guys for the next couple years. I think they're all signed for 2 years. Steve has 2 more years left on his deal. So it's like next 2 years is going to be either you try to get another one, and then after that, who knows what the heck is going to happen. But what's your outlook on this team for the next 2 years? Because they played really well last year when they were, healthy and Steph was healthy and Jimmy was healthy. And then they get to the playoffs, obviously beat the Rockets, great series. Butler, I think that fall was still kind of hampering him in Minnesota, and then Steph gets hurt, and that's pretty much it at that point. Minnesota just wipes him
Right.
off. But when they're healthy, where are you at with them?
I like them. I mean, the obvious question is just what does the age look like in terms of a decline next year compared to last
Yeah,
season? That's the elephant in the room. But they were really good. Steph getting hurt killed them. I wrote at the end of the first round that when they beat the Rockets, like to me, the Jimmy Butler trade was worth it at that
yeah,
point because Steph could go into his offseason, rightfully so, feeling like the whole meaningful basketball phrase that he drops all the time, that he got to play meaningful basketball, and he could tell himself like, if I don't get hurt, we might be in the second round, and then in the second round, I think we could take that team, and who knows from there. Like you're in the mix. That's all he ever asked for.
yeah.
Um, so, of course, the next 2 years with Jimmy getting paid massive money, there is, I put it at a 5 to 10% chance that he either falls off or maybe he does the Jimmy thing where he's not vibing as much as he did early on. Um, but I thought it looked fantastic last year, and I think they're going to be really good again next year with everybody holding their breath. Again, Steph, like we see LeBron staying healthy at 40. Can Steph do that and get all the way to the end of the marathon? And Jimmy too, and
Okay,
Draymond too, obviously.
I don't want. I mean, this you could probably take up an hour doing this one, but give me your thumbnail sketch. What the hell is going on with the Kings?
I
Just
love
when I
how
thought,
every time it's never
I,
there's all these nuanced questions. Every time we talk about the Kings, it's always like every other team is a specific question. What are they doing here or there? And then we get to the Kings and it's just like WTF. Like
no, because a couple of years ago, I'm like, wow, they kind of got this thing on the rise. Good young roster. I was thinking we may get some more Warriors Kings playoff matchups, which are phenomenal. Travel is great. The brand of basketball is a lot of fun. Golden One's a really cool arena. Great fans. I thought, oh, well, okay, got this thing kind of figured. No, they don't got it figured out like at all. They at all. And I was like, God, how did things just crash and burn so quick for kind of a promising team that never really got to take off? I mean, it just never really got there. Like what yeah, what the hell?
yeah, they I mean, listen, they failed to thread the needle when they got Fox, Sabonis, Monk, Keegan Murray, those guys. Um, to build off of it. And I know we are guilty in the media of having hindsight be 2020 all the time. But, when they were looking at possibly trading for OG Anunoby, and I had Kings people telling me, man, he's going to want $40 million a year. That's just too much. I was like, yeah, but he also would take you to the next level. And they passed on that.
Exactly.
You know, Pascal Siakam was a possibility that they really looked hard at, and similar thing. They weren't. feeling it. Pascal didn't really want to be in Sacramento, but now you look at what the Pacers did, and you kind of go, "Oh, that probably would have taken you to the next level." So, in
Yep.
the absence of the next level, then you have restlessness where a guy like De'Aaron Fox, starts honestly just kind of drifting away from the program, where he didn't have a lot of faith in the organization anymore. There was some stuff that happened where he was down on the way they were functioning, and so now he pushes his way out. You don't get enough. Not only do you not get enough in return, but you kind of succumb to the we want to be competitive still thing, where you go out and get a guy like Zach LaVine who's owed a ton of money and who puts a ceiling on your
Yep.
team. So that's the longer version. Obviously, new front office now with Scott Perry in there,
Yep.
formerly of the Knicks, had a short time with the Kings. He's trying to clean it up, but they're having to hit the reset button. There's really nothing you could tell me potentially about their summer. If you told me right now, like they traded Levine, they traded DeRozan, I mean, a bunch of other guys that traded Sabonis, that none
Yeah.
of that would shock me. We'll see where they go.
I know De'Aaron Fox always said that he had a good relationship with Mike Brown.
Yep.
And I still remember Mike Brown killing him after I forget what game it was. Who were they playing where the De'Aaron
I think
Fox gave up the
Detroit.
3-pointer? That's what it was. Yes, the
Yeah.
foul. And
Yep.
Mike was absolutely 100% right. It was a brutal mental lapse by Fox, and then a terrible closeout to boot that cost him that game. Now there are other things in the collapse, but that was the final straw of the collapse. And I just thought it wasn't so much that, but the way Fox handled the questions after that, I thought were lame for a star on a franchise. I was going to say like Sacramento, but any star. It should have just been, you know what? Mike had every right to criticize me. That was terrible on my part. I got to be better than that. We got to be better than that. Instead, it was this. It was. I mean, I don't know if that played any factor or he'd already lost interest at that point. That's why he answered it that way. But I was pretty I got to be honest. I was pretty disappointed in the fact that he didn't stand up and say, you know what, Mike was right. I got to be better than that. That's horse crap. I can't do that.
Yeah, that's all fair. He was good with Mike. I mean, you probably saw back then. It's crazy. They fired
Yeah.
Mike. De'Aaron later shares publicly that he told management, "I'm not playing for another coach if I'm in Sacramento." Like he made it very clear to them,
Yeah.
like if you get rid of Mike, then I'm going to be trying to get out of town. They ignored that message. So even with those crunchy moments that those guys would have, they were still in a good place, And then a week after Mike gets fired, picture shows up of De'Aaron and his wife Rasay going to dinner with Mike and his significant other in Sacramento. Like and,
Yeah.
that's not a mistake. Like that got put on social media to kind of further that idea that I do think is accurate, that he and Mike were good. Um, so weird situation. I think it speaks to the Kings' inability to be patient and to stand by their head coach. To be honest with you, like you talk about culture. What if the Spurs, got rid of Pop every time a player got frustrated with them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and this wasn't even a case of. I really don't think Fox was pushing this. There were guys in that locker room pushing it. I think he and Domas had been sideways a bit. I think he and Malik Monk had been sideways a bit. But we've seen how the wheels have come off ever since, and that kind of speaks for itself.
All right, a couple quick ones before we get to the draft. If you're in the Eastern Conference, whether it be New York, Cleveland, Orlando's already done it. I mean, the price they paid for Desmond Bain is just wild. That's the type of return you get for Desmond Bain. But I'm thinking, you know what, with Boston probably being out next year, although, well, I'm not going to count him completely out. We don't know when Halliburton's coming back. So, again, I'm not going to say it takes Indy off the table, but it's going to be tougher. Like, if I'm Cleveland, New York, one of those teams, Orlando's, I'm seeing who I can go get. I'm trying to
Right.
strike this year and take my shot. What do you think the mindset of those teams is going to be? And are there still kind of players out there that you you wouldn't be surprised if they moved.
Yeah, I think you're correct on the landscape and the mentality that these teams should have. The other one, I don't think they're going to be title contenders, but one team that I think this has actually really benefited is that right about the time that Giannis Antetokounmpo was thinking about raising his hand and saying, "Get me out of here," I think the flatness of the East, if that makes sense, was probably a factor in him
Yeah.
saying it's just not as bad as I thought. Like if you look at the Bucks, uh, this might be delusional, but they felt like they sized up well with the Pacers, and then they got run by Indy. But they're not afraid of Indy, and so you see Indy almost win a championship. If you're Giannis, you're kind of like, all right, we're really not that far away, and so lo and behold, he's not asking out. So I don't. I'm trying to think of, I mean, names of where guys could go. I mean, it's all speculation at this point because I don't think Zion's moving. I don't think Ja's moving.
Yeah.
I don't think Jalen Brown's moving. These are the big boys that we're talking about. Bradley Beal is not even anywhere remotely close to those players, but could I see Brad finally waiving his no trade clause and going somewhere? Maybe I could see. I think that could happen. But even if you stand pat and you're like Cleveland's they got to figure out their Garland stuff right now.
Yeah.
That's a bit of an issue for them. But even if you're New York, if they ever figure out who they want to coach the team, you can feel like you're going to make a deep run, and if you catch a few breaks, that could be you in the finals next year.
All right, a couple quick Laker ones. How does the new ownership affect the Lakers? Weird. It's been the first time, since 78, somewhere 78, 78, 9 maybe, that Dr. Buss bought the team. And I called him Dr. Buss this time. One time I called him Mr. Buss. I just kind of forgot, Sam. I was walking through the media, or what was it, the media lounge or media where we eat.
Yep,
And he was coming in, I was going out. And I go, "How you doing, Mr. Buss?" And just didn't really think much of it. And his assistant,
sure.
actually ran 3 steps, and he goes, "That's doctor." I was like, "Okay, good geez. I mean, come on. You really need to make that much of a spectacle about it?"
That's as bad as and I love him, but that's as bad as Michael Malone, getting mad about Mike,
Oh, really?
But yeah, you don't remember that? I think it was Cassidy
I
Hubbard
don't.
from ESPN. Yeah, he did a sideline hit with Cassidy, and she says, "We're here with Mike Malone," and he looks at her and goes, "Michael."
That's where you want to hit him with the old stripes line. Lighten up, Francis. It's
Right.
not that big a
Yeah.
deal.
Right.
So how much does the new ownership group affect how the Lakers go about business? And I guess the second part is, can they find a viable center this year for Luka to play with?
So the first one, we're still learning. I think the natural thing is you look at the Dodgers with Mark Walters, the new owner's involvement over there, and you
Yep.
see great things in terms of their level of investment, analytics, scouting, kind of blank check type of approach. I don't think that's going to be overnight with the Lakers that it'll be like that. And one thing that'll be fascinating to track is that there's some people who say, yeah, the Lakers were a little cash poor before, but they also, like, if you look at the front office, I don't think if you asked Rob Pelinka right now that if you said, "Hey, Rob, if you could snap your fingers and have a front office like the Clippers, where you have Lawrence Frank running it, you have
Yep.
Trent Redden is a guy who could be a GM anywhere. Uh, he's there in a GM capacity. Mark Hughes is one of their top executives. They just hired Monty McNair, formerly of Sacramento, as an advisor. They're loaded. The point is they spend, I would love to know the actual number they spend on their front office, but it's a lot. I don't think Rob would want that for the Lakers front office right now. Like, he likes a smaller, tighter group. So I'm really curious to see how they balance that, the new doors that have been opened because of the new ownership with what they actually want to do with their infrastructure. But it's going to change over time. They're light on scouting. They've gotten deeper on analytics recently, but they're still behind when it comes to
Yeah.
the league. Throw the other, the big man. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know what direction they're going to go. I think they've got their fingers in a lot of stuff, like literally today. Um, they've been telling Luka Doncic that he's going to, please like give us time, be patient. And he's been that so far because they don't, I mean, we saw in the Mark Williams rescinded trade with Charlotte how
Yeah,
paranoid they are of getting it wrong. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like the second there were some kind of red flags there, whether it be Mark's health or what a lot of people feel is just their own buyer's remorse on how much they gave up. And
yeah.
once they like once it leaked and they saw the backlash where people couldn't believe how much they gave up, lo and behold, they didn't want to do the trade anymore. So they know they have to get this right because it's not even just Luka. Like this goes back to the Anthony Davis chapter. Remember when he went on national TV and said,
Yeah.
we need a big. Like this has been a box that Palinka has been trying to check for years now.
Oh, there's 100% buyer's remorse. It's like
Yeah.
hangnail. Oh, hold on a second. Red flag. Red
Right.
flag. Wait a minute.
Right.
How long's that
Right.
hangnail been? It's a chronic hangnail. Yeah, like that's the. I swear, I think that
Yeah.
everybody's killing us. Maybe we got this wrong. Let's go ahead. And
Right.
there's everybody's like, well, you shouldn't be able to do that. I'm like, well, there's really nothing you can do. I mean, you can look at a
Right.
medical and interpret it any way you want. If you find anything whatsoever, you can just say, okay, we're rescinding the trade. And there's no doubt in my mind that's exactly what happened. The interesting part is they get Connect back. He didn't even play during the playoffs. I wonder how much Mark Williams actually would have helped during the
Sure.
playoffs. And I also think, I mean, as Ralph always said, two things can be equally true. I do think they gave up too much, but he could certainly help with them. He could have helped them this year. And if he
Right.
stays healthy, he could have helped them on into the future. But yeah, that was that was a that was interesting. I was like, wait a minute, didn't they just trade him? And Connect was like, I'm back.
Right.
Boomerang.
Right.
I love the
And
boomerang
I'm a
trade.
well, and I'm gonna sound like a terrible human, but you remember he Connect took the first game off and it legitimately was like, and this is not allowed to say
Yeah,
this these days, like from a mental health standpoint, he just was having and I kind of was like, come on. Like,
yeah. No, I
like
I get it. I'm
like
with you.
it's but yeah, like he came back and he was in a funk because he thought the Lakers were in love with him and he learned the hard way that it's a business.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a decent little what if. Like what would Mark have looked like in the playoffs and do they find a way to get through Minnesota with him?
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I mean, guys could be in the locker room before the game and spill fruit punch on their favorite T-shirt and ruin it, and they need a mental health day. It's like, oh, I
Right.
can't play. Look at
Right.
this. I got a stain. Are you kidding me?
Well,
You want
like
me
you
to go
said
play
too,
basketball?
two things can be true. Like, just how much was you were bothered or shook by it, how much was you were just pissed and you just said, no, I don't feel like playing.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but
I get it.
yeah,
It's just
we'll see.
it's a whole new world is what it is. It's just totally different. And not just in sports, but all right, draft.
Tommy
There
T,
is
I got it.
no
Tommy T singing Little Mermaid was not on my bingo card today. That's it.
I think that was Pocahontas actually. Let's
Yes.
go.
Okay.
I think I'm not positive, but I think it was Pocahontas. Uh, there's no way Dallas trades his pick, right? There's no way you can trade
No,
away Luca, pitchforks, and you got the
no.
torches, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, we're gonna get Cooper Flag. Like I
Right.
don't care what they're offered. They will burn the building down. There's no way they trade this pick, correct?
Correct. Correct. And even to put a finer, another politically incorrect take on it is like as it was put to me, like no ownership is not letting them trade two great white hopes in the matter of 4 months.
And this one's
Um,
American.
right. Right.
Ain't
Which
happening.
yeah, which that roster has become very American, no question.
Yeah,
Um,
no
but
doubt about it.
yeah, he's not going anywhere. I mean, I do wonder. Things are tricky. You got a relationship with Jay Kidd. Like I wonder how it's going to go with Cooper and with Kyrie's coming off his ACL and he signs a new contract, but AD. I mean, it's just potentially not the healthiest environment in my opinion for Cooper to come up. because you have,
Yeah.
Jason showing really strong signs that he would like to coach the Knicks. You got Nico Harrison, their GM, not only dealing with the backlash of the Luka trade, but he's pretty open about the fact that he never planned on doing this job for more than a few years. Um, and so, if you're Cooper and his people, I would be a little mindful of kind of like, how can we developmentally, make this a good environment amidst some of this chaos around us.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if they had odds right now before Cooper Flag ever played a game in the NBA, who the next American born MVP will be. Because I think we're on a run of 7 straight now, foreign born players that have been MVPs. It could be 6, but maybe 7. I'm not sure. With Shea
Right.
winning this year, Canadian. I, I wonder if Cooper would be the favorite because I'm trying to think of American born players that actually have a chance to win an MVP. And you got Tatum, maybe Donovan Mitchell is
Ant
one.
would be in there. I mean, I think
Yep.
he's still a ways off, but
Yep.
Edwards.
Not a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But there's not a lot of them. And I think,
Yeah.
I don't know what you think of him. I've seen him play probably 10, 15 times. I think he's really, really good. Like, I think he's going to be an all NBA player by year 3. His competitive nature is kind of what sets him apart, but he's long. He can play defense. He's got a mean streak in him. His footwork is really good. Right hand, left
Right.
hand. He can handle the, not a great ball handler, but he can handle it well enough. He's not a dead eye shooter, but he shoots it well enough. I just think this guy's really, really good. What do you
No,
think?
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him a ton. I've seen
Yeah.
enough to see the versatility and obviously the two-way talent. The mentality stuff seems to be off the charts. I enjoyed
Yeah.
one of his interviews just this week heading into the draft where he was asked about his decision to finish high school in 3 years, um, and go that route. And he said, he quoted his mother. He says, I lean on her a lot, and she had an old quote about how if you're the best player in the gym, then it's probably time to find a new gym.
Yeah.
And that kind of shows you that he's not going to be resting on laurels or uh, or just he's going to push from a competitive standpoint. So seems like he's special. I would love to somehow convince the Mavericks to share like the types of trade offers they got for this guy. You know what I mean? Like it would be
Yeah.
wild to. I think it's pretty safe to assume that some of the stuff that crossed their desk was bonkers, but they like we said earlier, they're going to hold tight and take the kid, and we'll see how good he is.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I think we came up with 3 NBA players that right now we wouldn't trade to get Cooper Flag. And I think it was his Joker, Shea, and I can't remember the other one. It was like, but the thing was, it was like three players. You're like, I'll trade anybody else to get that kid. That's how much I think of him and his ability and what he can become. That there's, I mean, it'd be interesting to talk to GMs about that off the record. Like, who on your
Sure.
team wouldn't you trade to get Cooper Flag? And I'm thinking most of them would trade just about anybody on their team to get that guy.
No doubt. I mean, if you just want to cheat and go, down the MVP list this year, um, Giannis goes third, especially I think um, given the Buck situation, they would be insane not to trade Giannis
Exactly.
for Cooper right now. Tatum, the Celtics landscape is different, so
Yep.
I think they would have to do that. You know, Mitchell has been fantastic for the Cavs, but yeah, I think that it's probably all those guys. I mean, the Timberwolves are pretty in love with Edwards, so like
Yep.
and it's funny because they admittedly they push back on this, but when the Lakers Luka deal went down, the Mavs absolutely put a call into the Timberwolves, and they kind of kept names out of it, but they said, "Would you guys be willing to do star for star?" Which that's only one conversation you're having if it's Mavs Wolves, and and the Timberwolves had no interest in coming off Anthony Edwards, even for somebody like Luka. But again, I mean, Cooper, when you talking about maybe being special for 20 years,
Yeah.
then you got to think about it. So I think you're right.
Yeah, I wouldn't do Luca for Gobert either. I think that'd be a complete ripoff. Before I
Luka
let you run,
for
any
Nas.
surprises you think may happen tonight? Any teams you're hearing may like try to move up and get I don't know what this draft. I don't know what this draft holds. I know the Harper kid. I saw Bailey play a little bit, and I've seen Knappel and guys like that play a little bit, but there's a lot of guys I haven't seen them nearly enough to know how good they are. I don't know how deep the draft is supposed to be. I've read it's a 2-person draft, Flag and Harper, and then it drops off after that. What are you hearing? Anything that we should be looking for when we're watching the draft tonight?
No, I mean, admittedly, I'm not too strong on the draft these days. Our guy Sam Vecini
Yeah,
does a fantastic job. I mean, I'm monitoring the trade stuff in my backyard. I think the Kings would like to get into the first round, so we'll see if they can find a way to get in there. The Philly spot at number 3, certainly a lot of eyes on what the Sixers are going to do. But it's the drama, if you will, is in the trades, and then everything post Cooper. But like we kind of just chronicled, Cooper is the one seemingly known commodity and impact guy coming out of this. So it should be fun. I think it's going to be interesting to see by the time we get to free agency. Like it's crazy in general, Tommy, how like this whole offseason calculus is inverse now, meaning that like it might everything might start already dying down like when free agency arrives, which is very counterintuitive. Like because
yeah.
so many players sign extensions these days, free agency is not what it used to be, and so you have all this action and activity, in the draft and the days leading up to free agency, and then free agency itself is a lot of times pretty mild. So we'll see what the next week holds.
Sammy, I want to thank you so much for trying to get you on. I know it's been a busy time of the season, but now that the season's over, I'm so happy that you joined us. I love talking to you, love catching up with you. Hopefully we can do it again at some point. We'll call these the Backyard Chronicles, where you'll be in your backyard, I'll be in my backyard.
I love it. I think I saw your intro. There's got to be beer at some point. Today's not the
Oh,
day, but we gotta. Yeah,
Friday
yeah,
beer.
yeah.
I will mix in a beer occasionally during the week. 1 o'clock show on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
not a
look,
great idea for me today. Yeah,
I'm not saying that I'm opposed to it. Like, I definitely not going to frown on anybody for doing it. It's just
sure.
I went with the lemonade
Love it.
today. So, and you got to
Love
work
it.
too. You can't be back there
I
boozing it
do.
up while you're getting ready to work.
I got a Diet Pepsi staring at me right here, and an egg salad sandwich. That's how we're gonna rock today.
You, I haven't had an egg salad sandwich in forever. Wow, egg salad sandwich?
Yeah. Hey,
Is
my,
that
my
is that
wife
your
was nice
go-to?
enough
Is that
to.
your go? Nice.
No, no, yeah, it was gifted to me. You can't look a gift horse in your mouth when
No,
the wife
you
is
really
nice enough
can't.
to make lunch for you. Yeah.
Wow, I like it. Now, where would you put that? Would you put that in like your top 5 sandwiches, egg salad? And look, if it's not, don't say anything. Just kind of nod your head like you're hostage. I don't want you to
Because
say,
you're
nah, don't say I don't like egg salad. And you're right. It's like, what do you mean? I just
I
made you
mean, that's
this
the
damn
advantage
sandwich.
of doing the backyard chronicles is I'm very far from the wife's ears.
Okay.
We're good.
There-
Unless she's watching on the old security camera right now.
There's no chance.
It's probably not top 5, but I'm a PB&J guy, get
Yep.
some turkey in there. Tuna. I mean, it might
Okay.
sneak
Tuna,
into the
yes.
top 5.
See,
Um,
you take it to tuna melt, then you're starting to climb up the ladder. Tuna's
sure.
okay, but tuna melt. Now I got to ask you, and this is critical. This is going to define for the rest of my life how I look at Sam Amick. What flavor of jelly do you use on your peanut butter and jelly?
Man, I'm not picky. Like you're going to judge that I'm not picky probably like if I'm looking at grape, strawberry, and raspberry,
Yep.
I'll probably reach for the grape.
You said what? What?
Yeah,
What one now?
I said if I'm staring at grape,
Yep.
raspberry, and strawberry, I will probably reach for grape. Um,
No, no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
or
no,
raspberry.
no,
Strawberry is probably
no,
third.
no, no, no. God, I can't believe you. Strawberry's the only jelly to put on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You ranked it third. You had raspberry jelly. Nobody even uses raspberry jelly. And you just threw you threw raspberry in there and then put it ahead of strawberry. I
This
cannot
is my
believe
last
you.
invite on the show. I'm feeling.
Golly. I mean, I'll get over it, but it's gonna take a while. I'm gonna need some therapy. I'm gonna need some counseling. Not only did you go grape, you threw raspberry in there as what you might as well have thrown mint jelly in there.
Boysenberry,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
throw mint jelly in there. Like you maybe you get some lamb and use the mint jelly, and then you use the rest of the mint jelly. You make a mint jelly and peanut butter sandwich, which, by the
Oh
way,
man.
I don't think anybody's ever had that combination of jelly, because I'm pretty sure, Sam, mint jelly is only used on lamb. I've never known mint jelly to be used on anything other than lamb, which begs the question: was somebody just eating lamb like 5,000 years ago, and they go, you know what this could really use? Some mint jelly.
Well, maybe there's
Like
just like a mint bush nearby. They grabbed some leaves and started chewing on them and came up with the idea. I could see that.
some caveman killed lamb,
Right.
get some mint leaves. We're good to go.
That's right.
We're solid.
Right. Right.
Hey Sam, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you go enjoy your lunch, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do it at some point. Maybe you'll be down in the area. We'll get you over in the backyard and talk some hoops. I always have a ball.
Appreciate you, Tommy. Good to see you, brother. You look good.
Thanks, Sam. You look great too, man. Appreciate it. That's Sam Amick of The Athletic, the senior basketball writer for The Athletic. Just one of my favorites. We've been chatting for years and years and years, and just a lot of fun to catch up with Sam. I'm disappointed, though. The grape jelly is not the jelly. It just is not the jelly. It's strawberry or strawberry. It's it's certainly not raspberry. Who eat raspberry? When was the last time you had a raspberry? Now I know it's a thing because on the what are those little sandwiches? The little the pre-made ones, Lunchables, I think is what they are. And Camila has those. I love those. You kidding me? They get a strawberry and peanut buttered sandwich, and you sit it out, and it's still cold but not frozen off, and then you just those things are great. Glass of milk, solid, good to go. And they do have raspberry ones. They actually have honey ones too, peanut butter and honey, which isn't bad. But if I'm gonna go completely off script, I'll go peanut butter banana. Slice up the banana, put it on one side of the bread, peanut butter on the other side, bam, peanut butter banana, boom. It's like a smoothie, except you have to eat it. You can't drink it. But yeah, the peanut butter and jellies are great. That's one thing. I don't think you ever grow out of the PB and J's. But again, you gotta have strawberry jelly. I like blackberries. In fact, now that you mention that, I can't believe I screwed up today. I went over to pick up my mom from her sister's house in Pinole. She's coming over for the day, and they have I'm gonna pick them up tonight. That's right, blackberries. They have like a fresh they have blackberry tree over there, blackberry bush, I think is what it is. So he's gonna pick a whole bunch of blackberries for me. Whoop whoop. Get some blackberries. Maybe I'll make some blackberry cobbler. That's what I'm gonna do. What's my favorite? I don't have a favorite I don't eat a lot of sandwiches. I don't eat a lot of bread. So I don't really have a great sandwich shop. I mean, I'll go to Togo's, get the number 9, get the hot pastrami, pepperoncinis, pickles, mustard, Swiss cheese. That's it. Nothing else. That's it. Maybe jalapenos occasionally, but I don't do sandwiches very often. I'll have a hero or a gyro. Gyro. I don't gyro hero. Girl. I don't know. It's one of those things. What's better, jam or jelly? Is there a difference? My grandma back in Alabama used to tell me there was a difference between jam and jelly. And I go, what's the difference? And she said, well, one you scoop out with a, a spoon and one you use a knife. I was like, that makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know what you just said. English, please. I need a translation on this. But they actually, my dad's mom, my grandma back in Alabama, they used to get mad if you used a knife to take the jelly out of the jar. They used to, they'd make their own jelly or jam, whatever, and put it in mason jars. And then if you took a knife and put it out, man, you get reprimanded. Like, oh, you can't use the knife; it's going to cut through the jelly, and it's gonna be all watery, and you got to use a spoon. I go, well, isn't the spoon made out of the same exact stuff the knife is made out of? Yeah, but the knife cuts through. I'm like, well, what if I just use a knife to skim it off the top, like a spoon would? Couldn't do it. So jam has the actual fruit in it. All right, I that's what I thought. I thought jam was like a little thicker. I don't care. I like jelly. I don't need a lot of it, but good jelly's pretty good stuff. I just get Smuckers. Just give me the Smuckers strawberry, but I can get a thing of this big Smuckers strawberry jelly, and it'll last 6 months, 8 months. I still got a big thing of peanut butter in there. Although peanut butter got to be the smooth. Can't have the chunky. I don't like biting into. I don't like biting into nuts. Go ahead. I thought I'd pause at the end so you could turn that into something great. I like the smooth peanut butter. So the non-nut variety and strawberry jelly. So who should the Kings trade? Levine, DeRozan, or should they just? I don't know. I don't know who can they. It's not who should they trade. It's who can they trade. Who wants that contract of Zach LaVine? And I still like DeRozan. I am a fan of DeRozan, but I didn't watch him enough or look at their defensive metrics to know where they're at. But anyway, I'd rather eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich and watch a Kings game at the end of the season. It just wasn't. It wasn't great. I'm not gonna go. So if I'm doing top sandwiches are yeah. You can't trade owners. I'm sorry. Look, there's a lot of teams that trade their owner. You can't trade owners, and owners don't fire themselves. But top 5 sandwiches, tuna melt, definitely going to be on there. Peanut butter and jelly, strawberry jelly, French dip with the au jus. You got to have au jus. If you don't have au jus, you don't have a French dip. You got to be able to dunk it in there. Oh, yeah, the au jus. Au jus. Love the au jus. Probably pastrami, hot pastrami, mustard, Swiss, and then like pepperoncinis. Pickles are cool. I like putting pickles on it, but if it has pepperoncinis, give me a little, just a little bit of bite. I'm good to go. And then other than that, I don't really. I guess if a gyro's a sandwich, I mean, I guess if it's not, I don't know. But that's kind of my sandwich list. It's not an extensive sandwich list. So anyway, I busted out this shirt. I haven't worn this shirt in a while, and I kind of like it. I don't know if you can read it. It says "Stay creepy, keep it creepy, keep it creepy" with the dude with the. It's just kind of a menacing T-shirt. And then I got the umpire hat today. Although this is from Boneyard Brewing in Bend, Oregon. Went there a few years ago and had some beers at Boneyard. So pretty cool little brewery in Bend. It was at the end of a cul-de-sac. And I'm not kidding you. You know how the craft beer places are in warehouses a lot of the time. This is like in a little warehouse, but it is at the end of a cul-de-sac with houses. It's right next door to just a house. Now you can walk out of the house, and if you like beer, you can take a right, fall down, and be at Boneyard Brewing. I was like, well, this place is awesome. You got to be kidding me. So yeah, that's where the hat is from. I'll give you a real quick synopsis of the trades. Like the KD trade, I thought was again a really good trade for Houston, and not that great for Phoenix. I don't know what the options were for Phoenix. If Durant says I'm not going there, I mean, look, Phoenix can trade him wherever they want to, but the return's not going to be that high if Durant tells them I'm not signing an extension. I don't really want to be here. I don't want to sign an extension. So one, you got an unhappy Durant, and you got a Durant that's not going to sign an extension. So that's going to limit the teams you can actually get a decent return from. So they end up getting the best offer. At least that's what they thought the best offer was. I don't know what the other offers were. They got a log jam at the wing position now. I don't really think it addressed their needs. So good for Houston. I mean, Houston gets still one of the most lethal scorers in the NBA. The Celtics trades were, again, I thought that Anthony Simons was okay for Holiday, who'd been declining with the salaries that are due. He's going to be making money like a star. He's not a star, but maybe a low tier star, because 35 million isn't what it used to be. Crazy enough, isn't it? It just 35 million isn't like it used to be. Like, oh my gosh, now it's like, that's really solid, but it's not compared to 50, 60, and even $70 million. So I didn't mind that one. Kind of got that. And then Porzingis, look, I think they're like 6 million below the first apron or whatever. It's hard, right? You get you get the cap, and then you get the apron, and then you get the second apron, and then it's just too much to try to I just don't. I'm not into that. So they get rid of Porzingis, and what they get, Niang and a second round pick. If that isn't shedding salary, that's all that is. Here, we're going to give you a really valuable player and get the minivan and a second round pick. The one thing I said about the Celtics that I really loved is like they were just interchangeable. Everyone could shoot, everyone could guard the perimeter. Like it was just everyone kind of fit. Niang doesn't fit. He's not a guy that you plug and play and say, hey, switch off on everything, you're good to go. Now they call him minivan for a reason. Now he can shoot and he can hit threes, but as far as defensively, like you want to talk about a guy they will attack over and over and over again. Celtics didn't really have anybody you could attack. It was like the Thunder, they didn't really have anybody you could attack. You could go at Shea a little bit, but he's still a pretty good defender, but he's like the sixth, seventh best defender on that team. So they went at him. It's like, well, we don't have a lot of choices, so let's go at him. So it's just the CBA to me. I just hate this CBA. I hate that you build teams, you draft properly, you develop properly, you build a team, and then you got to get rid of it 2 years later. Because you just don't have, unless you want to spend $500 million a year, which, as Sam Amick said, was what the Celtics were paying as of like 4 or 5 days ago. 505 million, 510 million. It's absurd. Like you should be able to draft and develop. Now, they got Drew Holiday via trade. They got Porzingis via trade. So I get that. But if you draft players, there's got to be some way to limit what they count against your cap. Like you can pay them max money and only have to pay 60% against the cap. Free agents should count at like 100%. And then if you trade somebody, that should be somewhere in the middle because obviously you're giving up some of your assets as well. But the Warriors should have never had to make that decision with Clay. Never. Now they may have made it anyway because it wasn't so much about the money. It was about, attitude and how good Clay thought he was versus how good he was, how good the Warriors thought he was, what the plans for him were going forward. But if everybody wanted it to happen, not sure it really could have happened anyway. or would have happened. So, but they should have had that option. Every team that drafts and develops should have an option of keeping their guys and not be worried about having to disband the team because, oh, well, we're too good. And when we're too good, everybody wants more money, rightfully so. We can't afford everybody. It's not right. And they should have capped. I don't know if they could have capped maybe at a certain percentage, but I don't know how they came up with this figure that some of these stars can make $70 million. It's absurd. It's absurd. Like $70 million, you would have damn well be a first ballot Hall of Famer, like easy. And some of these guys just aren't. They're not easy. They might make it, but it's like, and then you get one of those guys, you get two of them. Now it's like, okay, now what do we do? I don't know. You better hit on the draft, and you better hit on some low cost options because if you don't, you're gonna have to do what the Celtics did: bring these guys in, let them run it for a couple years, and then start blowing it up a little bit. As far as the draft tonight, like I think I've said, I think Cooper Flagg is outstanding. I think he's going to be a star in this league. I really, really good, really competitive, and there just isn't anything that I look at and say that's a flaw. Defense, length, competitiveness, rebounding, shooting, handle, footwork, IQ, everything you want from a guy to build your team around. That's the dude. That is the dude. And so Sam said he had a few little concerns with Anthony Davis and Kyrie being there, and how is he going to grow and develop in Dallas. I don't know. I think he's one of those guys that's like a self motivator, and I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. And so, anywho, all right, we'll be back at you Friday. Enjoy the draft. We'll see if the Warriors do anything at 41. I have no idea who they're going to take. I just hope he's competitive and he knows how to play basketball. I don't care about wingspan. I don't care about athleticism. I just want a guy that knows how to play ball. That's it. Just give me a dude that has some instincts. You're not asking him to do a ton. If he plays, you want him to be able to understand his role and what he's going to do. Kind of like a Guy Santos guy. Maybe a little higher skill level, but a guy that just competes his ass off. I love Guy Santos. I love the fact that he gets in there and just, if there's a guy on the floor, it's Guy. There's a guy getting an offensive rebound, it's probably Guy. If there's a guy cutting to the bucket, it's probably Guy. Like Guy is just like a tornado when he's on the court. And I love that. And so I'm hoping that they get a guy like that just competes his ass off and knows how to play ball. If he can shoot, athlete, great. If he has all those things, guess what? He ain't last until 41. Okay. So if you can get somebody that has a certain skill set at 41, that's great. If you can get a guy that can shoot, or if you can get a guy that can defend, or if you get a guy, just, give me a ball player. Give me a ball player, and they can figure it out at some other point. All right, we will see you guys on Friday, and then they showed you who we're going to have next week, so it should be a fun show. Be a fun show the rest of this week. Fun show next week. I don't know if we're doing a show Friday. I guess next Friday is July 4th, huh? So we'll see. I don't know. I might have something. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if that'll even be possible to just do a show on July 4th. So I don't know that I have anything going on. Again, I don't know that I don't have anything going on. Maybe we're gonna take Camila to go do something on July 4th. So that one, let's put that one in the holding pattern. Unless we already, I can't imagine we have any guests lined up. Who the hell's going to want to come on? What do I want to do on July 4th? I don't know. How about barbecue? Maybe watch some fireworks, watch some baseball. And I'll go on with Tom too. That'll be fun. July 4th. Let's just throw that right in the middle of all this other shit. Let's go on with him. I doubt that's going to happen. And I don't even know that I want it to happen. So we'll keep you abreast of what's going on, but let's not jump ahead too soon to next week. We still have Friday. Not sure what we're doing Friday. I be honest, I don't know what I'm doing Friday. Could be solo. I might have to grab somebody. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what we have on Friday? That's the beauty, or not, of the show. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the draft tonight. Grab yourself a beverage, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not with, if you're gonna grab a, got to have milk. By the way, you have to have milk with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Period. No exceptions. No milk. No PB&J. It's just the way I roll. And I've been convinced whole milk is the way to go. I don't know. My brother shamed me. My son shamed me. Like, Dad, if you're gonna drink milk, go whole milk. So I go whole milk now with my PB&J. So PB&J, and then I'll get some beers around draft time. Not that I'll be all that concerned with what's going on, but it'll be background music. Everybody enjoy the day, and we'll talk to you again on Friday. See ya.